Firstly, though, the Chinese government-backed Global Times newspaper has alleged that Australian agents raided Chinese journalists' residences earlier this year. Is that true?
Look, I'll leave comments on national security matters to the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister and the Foreign Minister, other ministers with relevant responsibility.
And here at Sky News we have sought comment from Mr Dutton's office. We'll bring that to our viewers when we do get reaction. I'm keen though to know though whether you can rule out that the raids on Australian journalists in China could be some form of retaliation.
Well, again, I'll leave comment on those matters to the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister and the Defence Minister. You know, as is known, our government provided consular assistance to the 2 Australian journalists. They've now returned to Australia, and it's obviously a situation where we've been involved as a government in supporting those 2 journalists, but beyond that I'll leave specific comment to the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister.
Is there any reason Chinese journalists should worry for their safety? Any reason for them to question their freedom to report here in Australia?
Well, in Australia we're a democracy governed by the rule of law. The free press is an important part of the democracy, and of course we have journalists from many, many different countries living and working and reporting in Australia. Of course, they do so subject to the Australian legal framework, laws concerning defamation, and we do have laws in relation to national security considerations when it comes to material being published. But the key point is governed by the rule of law, and those laws apply to all journalists and indeed all Australians.
In the wake of the AFR and ABC Australian journalists' experiences and Cheng Lei's detention in China, do you hold fears for the safety of other Australian journalists who are still in China, perhaps freelancers or journalists who are accredited but with international news outlets?
Well, I'll simply point you to the advice given by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to Australians considering travelling to China. First of all, China, along with just about every other country, is the subject of a do not travel recommendation by the Australian government because of the circumstances of COVID-19. But secondly, DFAT in its standard advice, updated in July, does highlight to Australians the risk of arbitrary detention in China. These are matters which people who may be considering travelling should consider. That's why the Australian government makes this advice generally available to Australians.
Okay, moving on to the TikTok self-harm video. I understand the video was first uploaded on August 31st to Facebook. It's now the 9th of September. How is this video still available, and what powers do you have over social media giants to stop it?
Well, yes, as you say, tragically and appallingly, an individual live streamed his own suicide on Facebook. That occurred on the 31st of August, I'm advised. That video then started to get resent around, particularly in the last day or two, and including on TikTok. Our government is, of course, concerned about that, very concerned about that. I've spoken with the E-Safety Commissioner this morning. She's been in continuing dialogue with TikTok, seeking regular briefing on what they're doing to remove this video from the platform. Let's be very clear. Our government expects that social media platforms, be it TikTok, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, be it anybody else, have systems in place in relation to the safety of material which their users are exposed to. I mean, this video clearly violates the terms of use of Facebook, of TikTok, and of any other social media platform. And so our government expects that TikTok will do everything it can to identify instances of this video and take them down, and that if there are user accounts, TikTok user accounts from which this video, which have posted this video, that those accounts should be disabled. We're very clear in our expectations, and indeed we will be introducing into Parliament, as we committed to do at the last election, a new Online Safety Act which takes our existing extensive protections and expands them, and that will formally set out what we're calling the basic online safety expectations. So we expect if you're running an online platform, a social media platform, that there are a set of safety measures and practices that you have in place, including an easy way for people to complain and to notify the platform of concerns, and a range of other measures. So we're very clear on what our expectations are, and of course that will be part of the new Online Safety Act, expanding the powers that the E-Safety Commissioner already has.
But Minister, beyond expressing those expectations, as you describe them, beyond demanding that these social media giants take these sorts of videos down, beyond expressing your concern, are there any penalties in place? I mean, if a television broadcaster ran this sort of content, our licence would be suspended. Are there any penalties in place for these social media networks? And if not, what concrete measures are there in place to prevent this sort of content being live streamed and then widely disseminated again?
Well, the first point is there are criminal provisions under the Commonwealth Criminal Code. If you use a carriage service, for that read the internet, if you use the internet to menace, harass or offend, that's a breach of the Commonwealth Criminal Code. And indeed in the last election we committed that we will be increasing the maximum penalties. In addition, the E-Safety Commissioner already has powers to require that certain kinds of material be taken down, so she can issue an order requiring that material be taken down, and the E-Safety Commissioner's powers are going to be expanded under the new Online Safety Act. So there's a combination of criminal provisions, and of course the Australian Federal Police takes the lead on those, but also the role of the E-Safety Commissioner is to be a place where people who have been, for example, the victim of cyberbullying or have been exposed to other content can go and raise concerns. There's plenty of very good informative material for parents and children on their website, esafety.gov.au. So I'd say to parents who have concerns about this video being on TikTok, first of all, go and have a look at esafety.gov.au. Importantly, have a conversation with your child, and also inform yourself about things like the settings within the app and also the settings that are available on smartphones, for example, in relation to parental controls. But the most important thing is for parents to be engaged with their children, understand what it is they're doing online, and this incident is a good reason to sit down and have a conversation with your child.
Yeah, look, I know many parents are concerned. Many of us received letters yesterday from our school principals telling us that this was on the internet, and to get our children to not go onto these social media sites in the meantime. How much responsibility, though, needs to be on social media users? I mean, it's pretty sick to share videos like this, to use them to then make your own reaction videos. It's people disseminating this more broadly, isn't it? Is there a need for tougher penalties on users who do share content like this?
Yeah, sadly we do have some people, trolls, who use the internet to try and frighten, intimidate, shock, horrify others. And as I've indicated, that is certainly subject to the criminal law and the provisions of the Commonwealth Criminal Code. And what we are seeking to do as a government, indeed what we do have as a government, is first of all a set of criminal provisions, and the AFP certainly can and does prosecute in a number of these instances, but secondly, mechanisms to support users to protect themselves, including educational resources, but also, very importantly, the capacity to have material taken down. And we've shown that we've continually added to those powers. We added the abhorrent violent material powers to the legislation and to the E-Safety Commissioner's powers after the atrocious incident in Christchurch last year, where the shooter live streamed the murder of some 50 people, and so we put in place extra powers. We're about to expand the legislation again, as I've indicated, but our government has very clear expectations of the digital platforms, of the social media platforms, and we're certainly in close dialogue with TikTok right now. They're in no doubt as to what we expect them to do. We expect them to find this video, get it off their platform, and if there are user accounts which have been uploading this, we expect those user accounts to be deactivated.
Communications Minister Paul Fletcher, appreciate your time. Thank you for that.
Thank you.